So today, we're diving into the pretty incredible science of how psilocybin, yep, the active compound in psychedelic mushrooms, isn't just changing people's minds, it's literally physically changing their brains. We're going to peel back the layers on the biological mechanism that allows it to fight depression by actually rewiring her neural circuits. For the longest time, the common wisdom in neuroscience was that once you hit adulthood, your brain was pretty much set in stone. The wiring was done. But what if that whole idea was just wrong? What if our brains are way more dynamic than we ever gave them credit for? Okay, let's get right into it. To really understand how these compounds work, we first have to get our heads around this amazing concept that our brains are, in fact, incredibly malleable. And this idea isn't even brand new. Way back in 1890, the philosopher and psychologist William James had this beautiful way of thinking about what he called plasticity. He described it as a structure weak enough to yield to an influence, but strong enough not to yield all at once. I mean, think about that. It's something that can change, but it also has integrity. It was a revolutionary thought that honestly was mostly ignored for decades. Okay, so fast forward to today, and that idea from William James, it's now a cornerstone of modern neuroscience. We call it neuroplasticity, and it's basically the brain's superpower. It's the ability to reorganize itself, to build new pathways, and to change based on everything we learn and experience. It's how we learn anything at all. Now, neuroplasticity isn't just one single thing. It's more of an umbrella term. And this diagram, I know it looks a little complex, but it really boils down to two main ideas. On one hand, you have structural plasticity, that's the physical stuff, like a neuron literally growing new branches. And on the other hand, you've got functional plasticity, which is all about changing how well those neurons talk to each other. So, what happens when this vital process of adaptation and change gets blocked or impaired? Well, this is where we start to see a really clear link to conditions like depression. And this comparison really says it all. A healthy plastic brain is adaptive, it's flexible, it's always learning and growing. But a brain that's been affected by depression or chronic stress, well, it's the opposite. It can become rigid, you get stuck in these negative thought loops. That's what ruminative means. And the brain just loses its ability to change course. It gets stuck. And when you look at the brain itself, this isn't just a metaphor, it's a physical reality. Studies show there can be a measurable loss of those crucial connections between neurons, the synapses. Certain parts of the brain can actually shrink. And all of this leads to a brain that's just not as good at learning and adapting anymore. It's a biological problem, which suggests we might just need a biological kickstart to fix it. And this is exactly where psilocybin enters the picture. The idea isn't to use it like a daily pill to just manage symptoms. No, the idea is to use it as a powerful catalyst that can jumpstart the brain's own natural ability to heal and rewire itself. This has actually led scientists to create a whole new category for these substances. They're called psychoplastogens. And it's not just a fancy word, it's a game changer. It defines a class of compounds that can rapidly and powerfully promote the brain's own plasticity. And here's what makes them so different. Traditional antidepressants might take weeks or months to work, if they work at all. But what the research is showing is that psychoplastogens can trigger major antidepressant effects within hours or days. And this is the really critical part. Those effects can last for weeks, months, or even longer, all from a single dose. So the big question is, how does this actually work, like on a biological level? Let's trace it all the way from the molecule to the neuron. Okay, so it all happens in this amazing biological chain reaction. First, you ingest psilocybin. Then your liver gets to work and converts it into its active form, which is called psilocin. Now, psilocin is the key that fits into a very specific lock on your neurons, the 5-HT2A serotonin receptor. When it binds to that receptor, it's like flipping a switch that sets off a whole cascade of events inside the cell, basically telling it it's time to grow. And I want to be crystal clear about what we mean by grow. This is not some temporary chemical shift. We are talking about physical, structural change. The neuron grows new little branches called dendritic spines. These are the things that form connections, synapses, with other neurons. The brain is literally, physically rebuilding its own communication network. And we don't have to guess about this. A landmark study in the journal Neuron back in 2021 actually watched this happen in real time in mice. They found that just one dose led to a huge increase in the number of these spines. And get this, a good chunk of those new connections were still there a month later. That's lasting physical change from one single intervention. So what does this all mean for a person? Well, more connections mean more pathways for the brain to work with. It means a chance to reverse some of that physical shrinking that we see in depression. But most importantly, it gives the brain the flexibility it needs to break out of old, rigid, negative patterns and form new, healthier ones. It creates the physical hardware for long-term change. When you really step back and think about it, the implications here are, well, they're profound. This isn't just about a new pill. It's about a completely new way of thinking about how we treat mental illness. Just look at the difference here. The traditional model is often about taking a pill every single day for years just to keep symptoms at bay. The psychedelic approach is a whole different ballgame. It's a short-term intervention designed to kickstart the brain's own ability to repair itself, empowering it to heal from the inside out. And this quote from Dr. Dozenbach at Washington University just nails it. You want an effect that lasts long enough to make a difference. That's the whole point. The goal isn't a temporary feeling or a fleeting change. It's about a powerful intervention that creates a stable, lasting foundation for a person to build on. You'll often hear scientists talk about this as a window of opportunity. By making the brain more flexible and more plastic, psilocybin can make other tools, especially psychotherapy, way more effective. It's like tilling the soil before you plant new seeds. The brain is suddenly primed and ready to learn and change in a way it just couldn't before. So, all of this leaves us with a pretty massive question. The research we've looked at today strongly suggests we could be on the verge of a real paradigm shift, moving away from just managing symptoms and toward actively repairing the biological roots of mental illness. If one treatment can help the brain physically rewire and heal itself, what does that mean for the future of mental health care? It's something to think about.